With thousands and thousands of new clone fragrances being released every single year, how do you know which ones are actually worth the hype? Because I'll be honest with you, as a creator that has built their accounts to a decent size, I am sent at least 100 new clone fragrances every single year, but only around 20 to 30 of them will ever see the light of day on my social media pages. But you know what? I think I can take it one step further for you guys, because instead of just showing you 20 to 30 clone fragrances that are decent, I want to show you 8 that are even better than the original fragrance that they're trying to clone. These 8 clones aren't just going to be better in terms of being a lower price. They might smell better, they might perform better, they may even get you more compliments. Let's get into it. Up first is the newest fragrance from COLOGNE. Not COLOGNE Island, which everybody has heard of, but COLOGNE Island Dreams. You can tell that it's different because it has a blue gradient here instead of a green one. That's pretty much the only difference at the bottom. I really didn't want to believe the hype for this one at first. I mean, I had seen creators talking about it, and basically word around the street was that this smells really close to Louis Vuitton Symphony, but with way better performance. Not even like similar performance to maybe slightly worse. I'm talking about 2 times longer lasting than the real Symphony. And what I actually noticed about this straight away when I first unboxed it on my TikTok page is that you can just tell the difference in projection even on tester strips. And if you've ever compared 2 fragrances side by side before, it can be hard on tester strips to tell which one is stronger than the other. But the fact I could tell instantly how much stronger this was than the real Symphony just means it was gonna be beast mode. And then I realized the people were right. It's a stronger Symphony, if you didn't already get that memo. This isn't going to be a dupe for everyone though, because this isn't the closest one-to-one of Symphony that's out there. The closest that I've tried would actually be Game of Spades Emerald. Now, Emerald has its own issues. The performance isn't as good as the real Symphony, and it is quite expensive for a dupe. So me personally, I would pick the COLOGNE one over Game of Spades Emerald. But yes, there is the issue with the COLOGNE one that it's not as kind of fruity and juicy smelling as the real Symphony. It's more musky. It's just kind of muted a bit. Like, it's louder, it's more projecting, but it just doesn't have quite that same fruitiness and almost like the peachiness that Symphony has. As it dries down, you'll also find that this is much more musky than the real Symphony. The kind of fruity top notes dissipate pretty damn quickly, like within an hour, and in turn it kind of turns into a more masculine, fresh fragrance, whereas Symphony is arguably more feminine leading from opening to the dry down. So if you don't mind that this is only around 85% close to the real Symphony, I would go for it if you can find it for under like 40 or 50 US dollars. My atomizer is actually broken. Oh no, it's not. I'm tripping. I thought it was. You get a nice atomizer, no magnetic cap, but it's just a really good value for money fragrance. Better than the real thing? For me, yes, because I really value performance. If you value smell, maybe not better than the real thing for you. It just totally depends on what you like out of a fragrance. Up next is a fragrance from the Australian-based brand Voyage, and this one is called Kokomo Paradise. Just like COLOGNE Island Dreams, pressurized atomizer, and this one is even cheaper, just 45 Australian dollars. They are available now in the UK, in the US, in the Middle East. They're pretty much gone international. The owner, called Adam, he's a good friend of mine. He just bought a warehouse in Dubai. So expect big things from Voyage. Kokomo Paradise isn't talked about as much as some of his other hyped up dupes. For example, he has one called Hectic, which is a great dupe of Imagination. But Kokomo Paradise smells like Creed Virgin Island water, but with a twist, and the way he's twisted it has allowed for the fragrance to perform better than the real thing, which in this case was very much necessary, because this smells incredible, but it's basically the equivalent of just spraying on scented water. It does not last. It has worse performance than Old Men in Bed. 30 minutes, that's probably an understatement, maybe 2 hours of longevity, and after that is literally just a skin scent. It's devastating, honestly. So with Kokomo Paradise, you still get the sugary coconut. You really do get that kind of like Miami vibe, and you do kind of smell like you're in a paradise, as the name suggests. The difference is the base is way more amped up, so it kind of has like this creamy vanilla tonka bean thing going on. It's more thick, it's more rich. I actually prefer the smell of this over Virgin Island water, and I find it performs better and price is better. So when I want to wear Virgin Island water now, I usually find myself reaching for the dupe, which is pretty damn rare for me in 90% of cases. If you can't find this one in the country you live in, Paris Corner makes a really solid dupe as well called Coconut Lagoon. Similar thing to this one, but Coconut Lagoon goes in the even more gourmand route, so even more vanilla, really amps up the sweetness, and it lasts even longer than both this one and the real Virgin Island water. The reason I'm recommending this one first is because it sticks much more closely to the original scent profile that I love, but still improves the performance enough to make this worth recommending. The next dupe fragrance that I can say, at least for some people, is going to be better than the original thing is Maison Azra Vision. Yes, this bottle is crazy, and this is where the sprayer is. If you didn't know, this is actually the Future Museum in Dubai. So this is modeled exactly after what the museum looks like. And as someone who went into the Future Museum last week, they got it spot on. Genuinely, from the details on the cap to just everything about this, it's a work of art as it is a fragrance. It's just as much a work of art as it is a fragrance bottle. So if you didn't know, Pacific Chill is one of my all-time favorite summer fragrances. It's fruity, it's sweet, it's uplifting. You get apricot, peach. It's just a lovely summer fragrance. So when I first got this off the Cal Cologne's recommendation, I was pretty skeptical going into it. And honestly, when I first sprayed it on, I was a tiny bit disappointed because right off the bat, just like Carvillage Island Dreams, it tones down the fruitiness and adds in more muskiness. But this is again one of those examples where that slight drop in smell for me is just made up for in a big improvement in performance. I mean, I'm talking huge. I get about 14 hours of longevity out of this. It projects for about 8 to 9, and then it's a skin scent for around 4 to 5, as opposed to the real Pacific Chill, which has around 4 to 5 hours of strong projection, and there's a skin scent up until around the 8 to 9 hour mark. So I'm talking like 5 more hours of longevity out of this thing. That's solid. Projection is around about the same. You'll find that the projection for Pacific Chill is really, really great for how fresh it is, and you won't have any complaints with the projection of Maison Azra Vision. Again, I need to reiterate this point. It just totally depends on what you value in the fragrance. If you really value longevity, if you want to go to work in the morning and you want to go to the gym at night and you still want it lingering around you when you're at the gym, get Vision. If you just want to be able to apply it throughout the day, you just want something super fruity and uplifting, and you have the budget for it, get the real Pacific Chill. Rayhan Pacific Aura has also been getting the rounds all across social media. This one is a bit closer to the real Pacific Chill, but it also has worse longevity than the real Pacific Chill. But if you're on more of a budget and you just want the closest thing to the real one, Rayhan Pacific Aura could be more up your alley. The bottom line is, with all of these clones, there's options for everyone. The different clones prioritize different things. It's all about just finding the one that best suits you. Up next, we have a pretty dang new clone fragrance release, and this one is such a big twist. If you argued it's an original fragrance, I wouldn't even probably argue back. It is Afnan 9 PM Elixir. This thing is not for the faint-hearted, and it is not going to be for everyone. So it definitely has similarities to Le Male Elixir Absolute. It kind of has the familiar Jean-Paul Gaultier opening, but very quickly, within about 5 to 10 minutes, it goes on its own like Middle Eastern, almost like niche path. Genuinely, I know this is only around $50. It has a lot of niche qualities to it. It has quite a heavy leather note, and leather's the middle note in the fragrance, but really from the first 5 minutes to the last 2 hours of the fragrance, you'll be picking up on leather. You'll definitely be picking up on spices. It has a pimento note, which is a type of chili. It has lavender. Very, very sweet. Kind of just smells like royalty. It's a very expensive smelling fragrance, which is ironic because of how damn cheap it is. This one smells great on skin, on tester strips. The scent trail it leaves is very, very addicting and sexy. It's just not for me. And you know what? Le Male Elixir, even Le Male Elixir Absolute isn't something I wear a lot. So am I surprised I don't find myself gravitating towards this? No. Not really. But for you guys watching who are on a budget, who want to really smell like a niche fragrance, you really want something that is kind of made for special occasions, date nights, really dressing up fancy, 9 PM Elixir could be a fantastic option for you. I can't remember if I mentioned it already. This is one of the strongest performing cheap fragrances in my entire collection. I get about 12 hours of longevity with strong projection. Personally, as someone that doesn't like to overspray, subscribe if you're not an oversprayer, by the way. I feel like there's too many oversprayers out there. I do 3 sprays. Literally 3 sprays is all you need. And with Le Male Elixir Absolute, I do 3 to 4 sprays. So yeah, they're both really strong. Not for everyone, but for the people who this is for, you will love it. Up next is a fragrance that gets talked about a whole ton, so I really don't want to make a big deal out of it. It is SHL's God of Fire. If you've been into fragrances for a time period of more than 6 months, you have heard about this because this is the fragrance that kind of popularized the note of mango. It's mango-y, it's a little bit green, it's rich, it's so good for the summertime. And Lattafa saw God of Fire and realized, wait, God of Fire has a very subtle oud note. Oud is something a lot of people don't like. And if we want to make a fragrance as mass appealing as possible, why don't we take the oud out and increase the mango even more? And that's exactly what they freaking did. And I personally love it. There's really only a handful of oud fragrances out there, or even fragrances with any oud that I enjoy. God of Fire is one of those exceptions. So is Oud Satin Mood by MFK. And I can't think of any other ones actually. But honestly, I do find myself reaching for Opulent Dubai by Lattafa more than God of Fire, just because without the oud, you just get the pure mango. And you know, when I want to wear mango, I used to want to reach for God of Fire. But again, no oud, I'm going to reach for this more. When the performance is about the same as well, it's a no-brainer for me to go for this one, despite it being cheaper. 5 to 6 hours of longevity with 2 to 3 hours of projection. It's nothing mind-blowing. It might even be a bit weaker than the real God of Fire, but for the price, it's fantastic. If you're like me, you just want to smell like pure mango sometimes, and you don't want to have to worry about any oud, this could be a good option for you. If you still want to keep the oud and, you know, you're on a similar low budget, check out Mango Ice by Golf Orchid. If you have a little bit more money and you really value nice presentation, check out Game of Spades Roll It 1 by Joe Milano. That one's pretty freaking cool, especially if you like gambling, because then you get to mix the two best things in the world, gambling and cologne, into one thing. Dior Homme Intense has been reformulated literally more times I can count. This is the newest one, the 2025 release, and it's good. It smells like Dior Homme Intense, but they've added way more sweetness to it and made it kind of smell a little bit cheaper quality. I'm not the biggest fan of it. They've also made it more expensive and lowered the amount of juice you get inside of the fragrance, which kind of rubs me off the wrong way. Pause. Don't make that weird, please. A dupe fragrance I've had, one of the first dupes I ever got about 1.5 years ago, is Alwatanya's Kayaan Classic. You can just tell by how scratched and beat up this thing is. It's been through a lot. It's been through 2 house moves and 3 fragrance shelves moves. I'm surprised it's even alive. Still sprays too. Yeah. This is like close to like those 2016 Dior Homme Intense batches that were super strong, really irisy and really sophisticated smelling. Yes, I think it smells better than the new Dior Homme Intense because the sweetness is toned down and it's just pure iris and woods. It's very sexy, very masculine. I think you can still get this. It's been a long time since I've kind of looked it up because I've had it for so long. But from what I remember, let's see. Kayaan Classic, Alwatanya. Yeah, so I live in Australia. It's available at heaps of places for around $60, which is equivalent to around 30-40 USD. So really good price. You'll get a fragrance that lasts 7 to 8 hours. Great for special occasions. Great for date nights. If you don't mind not having the real Dior fragrance, you will be happy with this over that thing. I'm just not a fan. Not a fan. I was actually mistaken. This is the new Dior Homme Parfum. This is just getting confusing. But I'm pretty sure Dior Homme Intense has been reformulated multiple times. Like, honestly, I've had this bottle for about 1 year, but my Kayaan Classic still outperforms this. So take it as you will. In my top 3 favorite cheap fragrances ever is Vanilla Voyage by Maison. I get it. Look, the bottle looks a bit feminine. It looks a bit zesty, but just like Maison Vision, they've taken a fragrance that smells fantastic, altered the smell a little bit, but all in the means of finding a better performer. And they've done it once again. This one is even more nuclear than their Pacific Chill version. This one lasts close to 20 hours on my skin. I've heard some users say they get over 24 hours. Some people that say they get 10 hours. But the bottom line is, no matter how dehydrated your skin type is, you'll probably still get at least 10 hours with this fragrance. It smells like Bianco Latte, one of the most hyped and viral fragrances of 2024 and 2025. So it's a creamy, milky vanilla. You get some caramel. It's very gourmand and edible smelling. Vanilla Voyage is still very honey, vanilla, very caramelly, but it's just more heavy on the vanilla, as the name suggests, Vanilla Voyage. And the real Bianco Latte, when you first spray it, at least for the first 10 minutes, it has like this weird methanol, minty, herbal thing. At least on my skin, I don't have that same issue with this fragrance. I'll admit, I don't use this as a standalone really ever, except when I first bought it. Right now, I use it as a base layer. So I'll do about 2 sprays, one there, and then generally put either Strong With You Intensely or Killian's Angel Share on top. So I'll add a spray each, and then a couple more with the slightly weaker fragrance. It basically means once my Stronger With You runs out after 10 or so hours, this will keep pushing on for another 5 or 6. And on top of that, together, they both just work seamlessly well, because this is basically like spraying pure vanilla. And when you spray something like Stronger With You on top, you're basically just spraying a more masculine pure vanilla fragrance. Like, they're born to work well together. Speaking of extremely hyped up fragrances, there's 2 that I'm holding. Parfums de Marly Altair, which won Niche Fragrance of the Year in 2024, and Liquid Brun by French Avenue, which copied this and did it so well that it spawned a whole series of other companies to start doing Altair dupes, which is still going on. But honestly, this one, for being first in the market, they killed it. They set the standard really high. Liquid Brun smell-wise doesn't smell any different to me than the real Altair. Performance-wise, about the same. 10 hours longevity, strong projection. It's just the difference in price that is so big, and the fact you're still getting quality, and even the presentation's arguably better in this, that I think it justifies being called better than the real Altair. If you like Parfums de Marly as a brand, if you're someone that likes owning the real thing, that's great. You be on your high horse. I like having the real thing too. Nothing wrong with that. We can all be friends here. But if you are on a budget, but you still don't want to compromise quality, Liquid Brun is one of the best fragrances out there. Vanilla, cinnamon, a lot of orange blossom actually. It's quite floral, very masculine. It's just sweet, sexy, and spicy. It's a great daily winter rotation fragrance. You can dress it up, you can dress it down. It's a fantastic inspired by version of Altair. If you want an inspired by version but with more of a twist, check out Afnan Historic Sahara. It's a more spicy kind of Middle Eastern style version, or Cuddlage Vanilla Dunes, which is very close but adds in a kind of fresh mintiness off the top. The last dupe fragrance that I personally genuinely do think is better than the real thing is from the brand Riiffs, and that is Memento. I got this about 2 weeks ago, and basically what it is a fragrance that makes Arabian's Tonka by Montal actually wearable for someone that doesn't really like very oud heavy fragrances. You get the sweet, sexy, rosy, slightly oudy nature of Arabian's Tonka, but they've basically just overdosed the rose and lowered the oud a ton. Rose and vanilla are my favorite notes of all time, so the fact that this is more rose and vanilla heavy rather than having such a focus on the oud makes me really appreciate this fragrance. And also, the performance isn't quite as strong as the real Arabian's Tonka, but that's not a bad thing in this case, because I actually found that Arabian's Tonka was so strong, it almost always gave me a headache. I don't have that same problem with Memento. Do I wear this a lot? No, hell no. I still only wear this maybe once a month max. Not even once a month, because I only just got it. Like, I've only worn this twice since I got it, and I'll probably only wear it about once a month, you know, maybe when I'm going out, when I just want to compliment farm like a shallow human. But I wanted to mention this one just in case any of you other guys watching, you know, you've been following me for a while, you think you align well with my fragrance taste. If you think you do, I think you'll really appreciate this one, especially if you like the idea of Arabian's Tonka, but just like me, you find it a little bit too oud heavy and too in your face. This really does solve those issues. That is going to wrap up this video on 8 cheap clone fragrances that I truly do think, at least for me and my preferences, are better than the original thing. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.